Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Hill, your legacy builder at Winning Proof, and I am here for another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted. And today I'm really thankful to have Megan Gibson on. She is from, and I'm not going to even try to say the word Australia because I'm probably not going to say it right. So, Megan, thank you for being here and tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. Yes, Australia is how you say it. I'm actually on the Gold Coast, which is a beautiful place to be. Nothing to complain about there. I love where I live. And I love when someone asks me, who am I? Because most people would just say, I'm Megan and I'm a mum and start listing all the things that they do as as an answer to that. And for me, who am I is a big, I feel that there's a bigger, more deep expressed version of that answer. And
Yes.
that's actually what I help people do. So I help people to uncover who they are so that when someone asks them who they are, they can actually say who they are instead of just what their name is and what they do in the world. So
Yeah.
I'm a life alignment coach. And by that, I mean, I help people, like I said, uncover who they are and then make decisions or learn how to make choices that are in alignment with who they really are, not who they think they should be, not who the world has told them to be, not who they think they should be for their family or for their friends, but who they actually are. So they don't have to pretend and they don't have to, try and please everybody, which is, if we get into my story, a big part
Yes.
of my story.
Yes.
And just be, because we are human beings. And so I help people uncover that and then align their choices in their life and areas of their life that are important to them with that. And so that means that when someone asks who you are, it's a bigger question. It's a bigger
It
question than you
is.
think. And most people can't answer it on their own. So that's one of the things I do. I am also a mother. So I have the absolute pleasure of having 7 children in my care. 3 of them are my own, and 4 of them I'm blessed to share with their dad and guide them into adulthood because most of them are over 15. So it's a busy house. So that's probably one of my main roles. And then I'm also a podcaster like you, which I really enjoy as well. Enjoy these conversations.
Yes. Yes. And like you said before, I mean, your plate is full. That's
Yeah.
managing, handling 7 kids, being a podcaster, being a life alignment coach. Your plate is full. But I mean, I've been all over your website and I see that you, to me, in looking at your website, you just handle it very well. Was there a time when you, and I saw about people pleasing, so I want to ask you about that, but was there a time when you didn't feel like you were doing it so well and you had to align yourself?
100%. I mean, I think that most of us, when we find our life's work, it has something to do with something we have authority in. And the way we get authority in something is by going through it ourselves. So yeah, there was absolutely a time where, I mean, I've always been like a high performer, I suppose. And that is because I was the ultimate people pleaser. I liked to make sure that everybody around me was looked after, that everyone around me was happy, and more importantly, that I was good enough for those people. And so in doing that, you put yourself last. And that's on us. It is on us most of the time. So when we do that, we completely self-abandon, or we abandon our sense of self so much that if you do that for long enough, you can actually forget who you are. Or you've been being something you're not for so long that it becomes a process of rediscovery and self-discovery. And so for me, when I was really small, like just growing up, becoming in, a young girl, I always wanted to be a mum. That's all I ever wanted to do, was be an amazing mum. I remember talking about it. I remember playing games about it. And so when I got the opportunity to, when I became a mum, I threw myself into that role.
Yeah.
And I had 3 children, like I said. One of them was a little more spirited than the other 2. And he was he was like having 2.
Yes.
I always wanted 4, so that's fine. But he was a challenge, and he was my biggest teacher. And you can read between the lines there and figure out that he was a lot of work. And so I really did find that over the years, and going through that journey with him and with the other, with my children, that I just didn't have any idea who I was outside of that. And it wasn't until they got older, I should say, and then they didn't need me. They didn't need that level of care anymore, because they're older and they can, do things for themselves and even leave the house. My oldest one is 21 in October, so believe it or not. And so, it wasn't until they were older and I was going through that transition of being hands-on and having to do everything, to having my own time, where then there was that void. And I think as mums, we've all felt it. And so then and rather than filling that with things that are unhealthy, what I was lucky enough to do was already be doing the work I'm doing now.
Yes.
And so I ate my own cooking. I wasn't doing it in the same capacity that I'm doing it now. I've been coaching for 8 years, but I was helping people through the similar process so that they could build a personal brand, and that they could build a personal brand that was authentic. And what I realized is that the same work that we do to uncover that is actually, it actually is the same work that we need to do in order to uncover who we are in life. And the results that people were getting and the impact that they were having from that was actually much, much more profound in their life. And so I found the same thing. When you eat your own cooking and I am that type of coach where I say, this is what you should do and this is how it is, then it better be like that for me,
Yes, absolutely. And I know you went through a metamorphosis around 40 years old.
Yes.
And can you tell about that? Because that is about the age 40, between, I say 40 and 45, where a lot of women either crawl back into themselves and just stay put in who they are. They're not willing to grow. They're not willing to try anything new. Or the other side of, I think you and I have experienced, is that you have been cocooning for all these years of taking care of everybody else, and now you are emerging as something different, as another person, as you kind of just explained. But explain what happened at 40-ish that changed your life.
Yeah. Look, I just remember how I felt when I turned 30. And I felt like I'd arrived somewhere significant. Like I'd finally grown up and I was, I had something that I could share, I had some value, basically, right? And then when I turned 40, which is that decade just flew by. I reached 40 and I felt like I should be so much more happy. I felt like I should be so much more healthier. I felt like I should be wealthier, more successful, and more importantly, more in love than I was at the time. And I was just shooting all over myself, is what I say, right? And so when we do that, we then, it was like a bit of a deer in headlights moment. I call it a holy shit moment, actually. But, it was like, whoa, like where did the last 10 years go? I thought I would be feeling even better than if you think life is just going to get better by itself, and it doesn't. And so when I got there and felt like that, I felt like, I don't know, that's when I kind of realized that was the big moment for me where I went, I'm not happy, and I don't actually like how I'm feeling about my life. And, I had to own that. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, was to look in the mirror and go, well, you created it, we create our life with our decisions, one decision at a time.
Yes.
And so I realized that the only way that was going to get better is if I continued and did more of the work that I'd already been doing, which was starting to realize that you start to realize, well, I'm not being me. And so who is me? Who is it? It's back to that question that you asked at the beginning. Who am I? I had to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was I did answer that question. And I am somebody who I don't do anything by halves. I never have. And I really went on that journey in a really deep way. And when I started to realize that I'd been pretending for everybody else's sake and started choosing myself, I felt better than I'd ever felt inside. I felt better about me. But there were some people in my life close to me that what happens when you do that is you make everybody else around you uncomfortable, because it's not a comfortable thing to do. So when you start being you and you start being self-expressed, and then people around you that aren't used to that, it gives them permission to do the same. But it's a really uncomfortable journey. And so some people don't want to go on that journey. And so then they don't get to know that new version of you. And then that obviously leads to some sad goodbyes, which, that's essentially what I had happen. And so then I was single then after 28 years for, a good while, and had to rediscover myself on the other side of that as well. And I'm happy to say that when you do take yourself on, the momentum that comes along with that, when you really do step into it and you own the things you need to own, and then you do the work that you need to do in order to move through it, what happens is the momentum of those choices is incredible. And I'm only 5 years down, just gave my age away, 5 years down the line. And now I'm happy with every area of my life. I've got an amazing relationship with an amazing man, and my health is collectively better than it's been in a long time. I can always be better, right?
Always, yeah.
But it's better. I'm happier in my own skin. And like work-wise, I absolutely love what I get to do. I love it.
Yes. And it shows, it shows on your face that you really love what you do, and you have taken on yourself as your own client. And that's your journey. You enlisted yourself, like, I'm going to be a client and I'm going to do this. So with that in mind, do you think if a woman goes through that at 40, do you think that's the final transformation, or does she go through other ones at 50 and 60? And I know you're not there yet, but what is your anticipation, or what have you seen with your coaching clients? There's not just one transformation, is there?
Oh no, and that's the thing about, obviously growing older and getting older, is that we're going to continue to have things happen. And the things, we are a sum of the experiences that we've had, and the way that we've handled them, and the choices we've made, how we've responded. To me, that the learning and the wisdom that comes out of the experiences we have makes us who we are. So we're going to keep having those experiences, which means we're going to keep having more and more layers and depth to who we are. So we are going to be different every, however long, 10 years, let's say, because that's what we're looking at. And so what I really think is important is, yes, we're going to have this transformation, and we are going to be someone new on the other side of it, which is where my name comes from, freed to be you, because the freedom is on the other side of that work. But that work doesn't stop. And so what's really important, and what I help people do, is not just do that work now, but understand how to continue to do that. So there's that saying, you give a man a fish, teach a man a fish. It's like, well, we need to learn how to use those new discoveries, and we need to know how to navigate that chaos when it's going to come, because it will. I call it chaos anyway. It's the little storm, these things happen. And sometimes they're good things that actually do change us as well. I know that's been, the experience of what I've seen with a lot of people, is that sometimes it's these really big highs that affect us, and then obviously things that are not so great. So we tend to learn more out of the chaos that comes, because we have to get through it. And so therefore there's more learning. So all of those things are going to keep happening, and we're going to keep going through things. And it's important to know how to navigate those things in a way that keeps you being true to you. And so that's another big part of what I think this work needs to entail. It's like, you can't just uncover it and go, okay, you're good now. No,
Yeah,
we're going to
you're
keep
good.
growing.
Go, move along now.
Go play. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is so true. And I know I've experienced that through the years. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm good now. And then something else comes along that shows you got more work to do. You,
Yeah.
you know, and I always want to be under a constant construction. You know, I don't
Yeah.
want the end building. I want the constant construction that, oh, let's add a floor. You know, let's put some doodads in the rooms. You know, metaphorically, I just always want to be under construction. So all the clients that you have served over the last 8 years, what have you learned about yourself through serving your clients? Like maybe the top 3 things you've learned about yourself.
About myself. Oh, that's a good question. I've learned actually that I have, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I was trying to work out how to say this.
Yes.
So there is so much to gain when we can learn how to listen. Like, not just listen, but really listen. And so through this, like when we go through this work with people, when I, take someone through this journey, it's so important to hear what they're not saying.
Oh, yes.
Because when we can reflect that back to somebody, they're going to recognize it, even though, you know what I mean? So I've really learned how to listen well. And that doesn't mean that I'm always amazing at it, because we all have our moments. But I know that that's really, really helped me to deepen my relationships, not just, obviously my intimate relationships, but with my children, with the people in my life that I care about. And it's helped me over the years. Developing that skill has helped me be a better coach. So that's one of the big ones, I think. And it's really important for us to remember that, because we've all got something to say, but so has everyone else. So, we need to hear it. So there's that. The other thing that I've learned about myself, the other big one I've learned about myself is sometimes I hear myself saying things and I honestly, I go, I learn from what I'm saying. And so that's another thing that's really important, is to remember that we have wisdom that we don't even know we have.
Yes.
And when we put ourselves in a position where we are able to speak our truth and actually say what's true, and we don't have to sugarcoat it or pretend, or, do you know what I mean? We're just free to express who you are.
Yes.
You get to hear that wisdom too. You get to hear yourself. And there's something really profound in just being able to be in a position where you can share and hear it. So I love providing that space for other people where they get to hear themselves as well. But I think that, I think we all underestimate ourselves. We underestimate how much we have to offer. So not only do I love uncovering that for people, but I've simultaneously at the same time uncovered that for myself. And that's just part of, being interacting with other human beings. Again, another reason why I love podcasting, because, that's another time where you get to hear yourself and you get to realize your own potential.
Yes. Yes. Do you, any other things, or those things are big?
Those are 2 really big things.
Those are 2 really big things. And I think what, to your point too, is that when you said we get to hear ourselves, but when other people get to hear our wisdom and our knowledge too, it's like you said before, not everybody, you had to say some goodbyes. Not everybody gets to come with you. So do you have to be intentional about surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people who celebrate you, and distance yourself from people who maybe are jealous, maybe they're threatened, maybe they are just want to squash you in some way verbally? How intentional are you with that in your life?
Yeah. Well, remember, I was the ultimate people pleaser, so I didn't ever like upsetting anybody or having anyone leave my life. However, what I have learned is that some people, and you may have heard this before, but some people are here just forever, and other people are here for a season.
Yes.
And that is so true. It couldn't be more true.
Yes.
And so what I found is that, like I said before, it's all about alignment. So if we know what we'll put up with, what we won't put up with, what we want, what we don't want, who we are, who we're not, then it, and the thing is as well, Michelle, is that I help people put language around that.
Oh,
So when you language something,
yes.
this being a writer, when you put words to something, or you put language around something, it becomes tangible. It becomes something that's floating around up here, or something that maybe in your subconscious. When you make it conscious, it becomes real. And so that's what's really important about, like I said, knowing who you are, because then that part of you becomes tangible, and it becomes something that you can be intentional about. So if something doesn't make you feel good, you're going to know, because you know yourself at that level. You feel it in your body. You're like, you know what? Like, this doesn't serve me anymore. I don't feel aligned with this person or this situation or this job or whatever. And like, that's where I was saying before, that it's really important to go, okay, well, then what? We need to learn what to do once we have that feeling. But yeah, that's what being intentional is all about. And creating alignment takes a lot of intention. It doesn't mean you have to cut people out and drop people, but certainly, I mean, some people deserve that. Absolutely. If they're, if they're harming you in any way. But if it's just that it feels not right anymore, then, as you've got more than one value, right? You're not just going to leave them, but you're going to try and work it out and try and align with that person. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and that's okay. And you need to give permission, and I want to give people listening permission to choose you. Choose yourself. But do it in alignment with who you are, so that when you do that, you feel good about it.
Absolutely. And to that, to build on that and kind of, wrap up a little bit, but you talk on your website about massive declutter of luggage. and
it's one of my favorite analogies.
I know, I really like that analogy. And what type of luggage do you see women carrying around? Are there some common threads of luggage that women tend to carry? And that's a generalization, of course.
So much. Yeah. Look, we all do. I mean, when I say declutter, what I mean is we've all been through things. We've all been through, things that have, like I said before, been hard, been good, been bad. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is the things that we don't want to think about, the things that we've been through that we want to just leave in the past, they don't always feel good to think about, but we need to move through them. And so when we go through this process, when I take people through my program, it's like we unpack that. So we unpack the things, and that can be, someone might be listening going, oh, I'm not doing that. It's a very it's a very guided process, right? So we'll unpack the things that perhaps, you've not thought about in a while. We're going to look at, take a look at it. We're going to rescue the things that are valuable, the things that have shaped you, made you who you are. And we're going to let the rest go and leave the rest in the past.
Yes.
And in that process, it's just a byproduct of it, is it very healing. So when you can reframe things
and only pack the things back in the bag that are actually going to serve you moving forward. And we put value to things that perhaps you haven't seen before in that way. It's repacking, right? So it's decluttering the things that don't serve you, getting rid of the things that are heavy, that weigh you down. And some of those things, to answer your question in more detail, like the negative stories that we have about ourselves is a really big one. You know, we all have this story that we believe, that the origin of that story, we can uncover that. And that can be very freeing. And when we know what that story is about, where it come from, why we believe it, all the evidence that we've gained over the years to make it true, we can let go of all of that, right? And then it's never going to be gone, because it is a part of us. That negative voice in our head is a part of us, but it can serve us if we reframe it in a way that, and we understand that it's actually there to keep us safe. Those things, those stories, those things, those negative limiting beliefs, we reframe them to help you see that that's actually just there to keep you safe. It's there to make sure that you don't, get too big for your boots or whatever. But we want you to reach that potential. So we need to see it for what it is, and then we can move through it. And then doing that, we're obviously unpacking a lot of other things, like I said. So it's an unpacking, a decluttering, but it's like, let's just get rid of the things that don't serve you anymore, or reframe them in a way that does.
Yes, I love that. And I also what was I going to say to that point is we often, I forgot what I was going to say. It was to that point, the luggage, the unpacking. You said that it serves us, the carrying, we never get rid of some of the bad stories, the stories we tell ourselves. But what I tell people too is that there will always be triggers. We'll always have triggers, but you learn people around you. If somebody says something that triggers you in one of those old stories, they will never know they triggered you, but because you have learned tools, and I don't want to call them tricks, but you have gained tools to help you manage that trigger. Maybe they never go away. Those negative stories, I love what you said about they can serve you. They can help you stay safe. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we just need to learn to turn the volume down,
Yes.
When we're trying to step outside of our comfort zone, or when something doesn't go well or how we wanted it to go, it's like, just turn the volume down. So there's a process, and there's a way to do that. And I think it's really important to understand that we're not going to be rid of that. But understand why it's there is the first step to being able to turn down the volume,
That's so true. And some people keep that volume on forever, like for their whole lives, and they can't get past that. And that's so
comes
sad.
out their mouth.
Yeah.
You talked about being around positive people before. Yeah. And I have compassion for those people, because it's not easy. This work isn't easy. It's not easy to take yourself on. It's not easy to look at those things, but it's worth it. It's so worth it.
It's so worth it. And I have a mentor, and he is told me, and he has a book, and he told me to read page 25, and it's about picking your hard. Pick your hard. Pick the hard thing. You don't have to do the work. You don't. But you choose that hard, because down the road, present or down the road, it's going to cause some issues. Pick your hard now. Do the work. Pick your hard. And that just really resonates with me, because pick your hard. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
So to wrap up, what would you tell midlife women? And I'm saying 40, just because if you live till 80, 40's midlife. I mean, I'm 66, so I'm past midlife, unless I live to 123. Which
you never know. It's 2023. Anything could happen.
Yeah. So what would you tell, what is your top takeaway, I would say, for women 40-ish in midlife that are struggling? What's one takeaway you can give them today?
Well, it depends what they're struggling and why they're struggling. But if it's just that they feel stuck, which I found a lot of
They
people
feel
do.
stuck or trapped.
I think the biggest thing that I would want them to take away is, there's a really good Tina Turner quote, and I've said it on my podcast before, and it's just left me. But like, if you're not happy about something in your life, or you're not happy, it is on us.
Mhm.
And obviously, there can be things in your life that are helping you to feel unhappy, but our happiness is our job. And so, if we feel stuck, we need to make the choice to choose ourselves, to go on the journey. And I think the biggest takeaway would be just to give yourself permission. I want to give you permission to do that, because when you can be brave enough and have the courage to step into what you do want, which it's going to be work, it's a process, but like just that decision to go, yeah, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to do what I have to do to move through what the feelings that I'm having. Then we can start to do that. We can start to work on it. We can start to unpack it. But until you've made that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. You kind of
And
pick
we only get one life. It's not a dress rehearsal here. This is it. This is the main act. Like
there's no do-over. This is
no,
it.
there's no do-over, and there isn't. And it's like when the kids grow up, we realize a lot of them would be around that age, like, oh, I can't go back and get my cute little baby and do it all again. It's the same with our life. Now's the time. Yeah.
That's so true. And even if, to give women hope that are maybe they're in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, and they're just learning this stuff. They've spent their life maybe trapped or something. And then now they're like, oh, I didn't know I could choose myself. They've been so disempowered. And, what would you say to, I know I said that's the last question, but just one more sub question.
I could talk about this all day, so feel free.
I know, me too. So if they say, oh gosh, I've wasted so many years, and I've, because I wish I would have known this, but now you know it. And the saying of know better, do better is like, what do you say, just forget it? Just forget the past? Is that as easy as that? And just start where you are now?
I would say, I'm excited about all the things you've been through. Let's unpack them. Let's that means you've got more to give. You had been through more. There's more depth to you than you realize. And if you're feeling that way, then like all the more reason to do it now.
Yes.
I mean, I've said, absolutely, I would love to know the things I know about myself when I was 20 and 30. Because I would have made different choices.
Yes.
Because I would have been making them in alignment with that. But those things actually made me who I am today. So then I wouldn't take them away either. So I think that that's an important thing to remember, is that those, yes, a lot of time has passed, but there's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of gold and there's a lot of value in that past and the time that's passed that we can rescue now and make it, everything that moves from here, everything that happens from here can be so much richer.
Yes. I love that. Yes. Yeah. So if somebody's watching this and they say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. What she's saying, and maybe I want to check into that. How can people connect with you and make an appointment, or how can they just get in touch with you?
Yeah, no, I'd love that. If you are listening and you think, that what I'm saying is making sense to you, it's, it struck a chord or it's resonating. I think the most important thing that we talked about today is alignment. So what I like to do is give people the opportunity to see if I'm your person, because there's as there has to be alignment in that, in your journey as well.
Yeah.
And so if you want me to navigate that journey for you, which is what I kind of look at myself as, and we get you out of autopilot back in the driver's seat. If you want me in the passenger seat with you, we need to check that I'm the right person to be there. And the only way to do that is for us to have a conversation, I think. Yes. So that's how I would suggest people get in touch with me. You can go to my website and you can book a call and we can have, you know, a quick chat and make sure that we are actually the right people, or I'm the right person to take you through this journey. And if not, I can definitely point you in the right direction. But I know that that can even be a big step for people. So before that, if you want something just kind of light and fun, you can take my free quiz, which will actually help you uncover that story that we talked about before. So it's called the Freed from BS quiz. It's free and you'll see it on my website, or I can give you the link if you like. And
all these links, I'll put them in the show notes. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a fun little quiz that you can just go and take and uncover something straight away, get a quick win. And then you can, you know, obviously connect with me further if you want as well. So
that is wonderful. And I'll put all these in the show notes, all the links to the quiz and the website link and everything that Megan wants me to include. It will be in there. And I just want to say thank you. This was just fabulous. I know it's really early in the morning in Australia. And so thank you for your diligence of getting up and, you know, doing this and being a gracious, wonderful guest.
What a great way to start my day. I loved it. It was amazing.
Awesome. And it's a great way. My day isn't over, but it's a nice way to start winding down my day. So it was just lovely. Thank you so much. And I'll put all my information in the show notes. You can reach Winning Proof. If you happen to have a book idea that's itching the inside of your brain, I can help you from conception to publication to promotion. And that's like Megan is in love with what she does. I'm in love with what I do. So contact me, winningproof.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I don't use Twitter much. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So until next time, thank you for watching another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted.